Hey friends, it's Mithrilda and welcome back to this leg of my journey to learn how to draw. I'm so glad to have you here. Let's get into the art. So for today's video, it'll mostly be me practicing the gesture framework along with the line of action that I learned in the first video. I think it's really important to sort of go slowly here. In the past, I would try to rush through all the instructional videos because I just wanted to know about it all. And then I would get so overwhelmed trying to implement all these different techniques and exercises and none of it would ever come out right, and then I would just sort of give up, and I really don't want to do that again. It's okay for some things to be wrong now while I'm learning. I just need to focus on one thing at a time, see what I'm doing wrong there, and try to improve that with every figure. Since there's not really that much new to explain for the beginning part of the video, I figured we could have a sort of discussion prompted by a comment that was on my last video. Alright, so the comment reads, I think the gesture is something advanced. You need to learn first how to put basic geometric figures in space, and then make your mannequins with those geometric figures. If you do not understand how they rotate, how they are placed in space, how they interact with each other, it is difficult to understand the figure. And I thought this was a very interesting perspective because, I'm coming from Draw a Box or trying to learn perspective and construction. But in all my history of trying to learn figure drawing, I've always seen either proportion or gesture come up as the first thing on the list rather than constructing things in perspective. For example, a few years ago when I first tried to learn how to draw a human figure, I stumbled across Proko, and his first few videos were about gesture and doing gesture drawings first, and I did look further down the playlist where he talks about the bean and the robo bean and stuff, which looks like more of a construction kind of thing. But I never got that far. I just sort of got stuck at the gesture part and then gave up for a few years. So I'm trying to get back into it. My second attempt, which was in the 10 days of figure drawing, I think, I looked at the Yeti Jet show and learned the proportions of the 8-head female body from the front, the side, and then the back before I started making it into different figures. And it did work. And I've never seen a technique where you would construct the geometric figures first. And so I'm wondering what is the opinion of any more experienced artists? I really wouldn't know. I only know what the internet tells me is a way of learning how to figure draw. Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, the crotch confuses me a lot. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Looking through these clips while I was editing the video, I tend to notice that I have no idea how the legs connect to the torso area, and I'm just really confused. Anyone who was watching my live stream also knows that I have no idea how the legs connect to each other or to the torso. Please send help about that. Anyway, so I sort of replied to the commenter, and then he replied, basically I asked, if you think that the construction should come first, am I using resources that are too advanced for me? Do they already assume that I can do that first before learning how to do gesture? And he says, it is difficult to know, each artist has his own way of teaching, but if you want to draw any character in any position and from your imagination, you need to learn to make the basic geometric figures and form mannequins with them all in 3D, nothing in 2D. Usually, you work with a gesture when you can make illustrations and you want them to be more dynamic and interesting. Also, when you make your mannequins, you also work with proportions. I found this to be very interesting because my end goal is to be able to draw, any figure that I can want from my imagination. Of course, drawing figures from reference is all well and good when I'm practicing, but, I want to do animation stuff. I want to just, draw anything I want without the limits of having a reference picture. This pose confused me so much. I was having such trouble figuring out what was happening with it. It seems like the torso goes in and out, and it's straight, but also not straight, and the spine just seems to curve outward, and I was so confused. I asked Jay-Z Sketch for help, and he helped me with it. He said that I should start focusing on which way the hips were going and which way the shoulders were going. And also, if you have a pose like that that's sort of straight on, that I should exaggerate it more. I can exaggerate it forward or backward, but I need to exaggerate it so then that'll make a good gesture. And later on, you'll see how I took his advice to heart and really improved on that pose. I also had another question. Like, in the video about gesture that Miss Carrie J made, I think it was the one about lines of action, she talks about how in some philosophies, you're only supposed to use a C curve for a line of action. But I tended to find that I couldn't draw any of these poses without an S curve, and I'm just really confused about it. I don't know, like, I feel like for the majority of them, the torso goes in one direction and then the legs go in the opposite direction, so there was no easy way to draw just a C pose connecting everything. And here the pen pressure was glitching out, so I gave up for the day. I finished up the pose from the other day and then started on the new day. And here, after I took Jay-Z Sketch's advice, I started exaggerating it and also, choosing a direction for the shoulders and the hips, and it definitely helped a lot. Like, that captures the pose in a way I couldn't before, and that was exciting. I definitely kept his advice in mind for the rest of everything I've been drawing, like, even up to now so far. And I feel like it's helped me so much with, just figuring out, like, where the heck lines go. Especially with the exaggeration, I feel like that was something I needed to be told a bit more, because I felt like I was exaggerating, but now I realize, like, it was barely exaggerated at all, and it wasn't really, capturing the flow of the pose. Now see, something like this, like the torso bends to the left and then the legs bend over to the right, how could you possibly capture that in just one C-shaped curve? Like, I needed that S-shaped curve to follow the mood of the pose. Also, I have another question. Oh my gosh, everything is just full of questions. Oh, also, these videos are about like a week, 2 or 3 behind my actual practice, so if I get any advice, I won't be able to implement it immediately, but it'll be... I definitely read every single comment, as you know, because I reply to every single comment. And of course, I take it all to heart. So please advise me, teach me how to draw. Anyway, here I watched Miss Carrie J's 3rd video in her How I Draw Anatomy series. Basically, you draw like a little silhouette of the figure or pose before you do the rest of the gesture, and that's supposed to help you with, like how the limbs work, I guess, and where everything's placed. See, like, oh my gosh, what is that crotch? I don't even know what's happening. Like, someone please advise. I don't know how it works. Yeah, and my laptop is acting up again. I think I might have to send it back or something. It might have a faulty hinge, I think. Cause like I want it to work, and then it's just not. And then sometimes the pen pressure goes haywire, and then I have to restart it, and it's kind of been bad. Anyway, I really do like the concept of doing a silhouette. I feel like it's really helped me figure out some of these poses, because I would be really confused on, like which way the torso goes. The torso confuses me a lot, but now that I have this thing, I can just see like, oh yeah, the torso vaguely looks like this from far away. And here, the pen pressure was glitching out again, but I was too lazy to actually restart my computer, which is usually what fixes it, so I just kept going. And you can see that I was having issues drawing without the pen pressure. Like, all my lines are so messy, and I don't know, I just felt like it looked really terrible. But I kept on being too lazy to restart my computer, so I just tried to work with it. And then it was about here that I felt like my gesture really started improving. Like, that looks nice. To me, at least. That looks kind of nice. And here, I could tell that I had proportion issues, right? Like the legs are way too far down in the little silhouette that I drew, so I was able to fix that at a glance. And that was really cool. I was like, wow, this silhouette thing is pretty useful, isn't it? Actually, I don't know if I'm doing the silhouettes right. It's kind of hard to do that kind of drawing with this software, or maybe I'm just not doing it right. Anyway, I was getting more used to like drawing with no pen pressure, and I was starting to realize that I was being really efficient with my lines now. Like with the pen pressure, it was kind of hard to get a solid line, right? Of course, because I didn't want to push too hard on the pen, but I also like wanted to go over it a bunch of times so I could get it right, and it would turn out super sketchy and hesitant. I don't know if you know what I mean. But I don't know, something about not having any pen pressure had some sort of effect on my drawing. I feel like my gesture improved so much just from between like the previous day and this one, and I don't really know how to identify that effect. And I don't know, just looking at it now, like it looks so much better than my first day, like so much better. And I don't know, I keep saying this, but I don't know why it is. But something about it is just very pleasing, I suppose. And I feel a lot more efficient with my lines. Like comparing my first gestures to these, I'm using so fewer lines and my lines are much more confident, which I find to be very interesting. And I think these poses are reading a lot better. Like this one, look at that. I feel like that's really nice, and you can definitely tell what's going on in the pose a lot more than before. Like this one, I would have been so afraid of drawing, but for some reason I just had so much confidence today. I was on a roll or something. I think the other days I drew a little less than an hour each. I just couldn't stop on this night. I just wanted to keep going and going because I was like, wow, I feel so confident, so good. Looking at them now, I've improved my gesture even beyond this point. But I just remember feeling so happy. I remember feeling like I finally figured out like this puzzle that I wasn't getting for so long. And I just didn't want to stop because I was afraid that if I went to bed, then I would like lose these magical skills that I just gained like in the blink of an eye. I don't know, that sounds really weird. But do you ever have like a really nice time when you're drawing and you get in the zone and then you just have so much inertia and you're afraid to stop because, I don't know, then you might lose that skill all of a sudden overnight? Maybe it's because I keep stopping my practice that I feel this way, because I won't draw for like 5 months and then I'll be horrified at my lack of skill after. Anyway, that was a very exciting day for me. I included all the practice of the stuff that I've sort of already covered and worked on because when I'm watching a video, if I see someone recording their process, I want to see the whole process. But let me know if that's a bit too much. I can totally just cut out all the extra practice if that's not interesting. The practice in this video covered 5 hours over 4 days, so I didn't practice like an insane amount, just a little over an hour a day. But I feel like I've already made so much progress. So, you can do it too! Get out there, get to work, have a good day.